I wanted to welcome everyone. My name is Chris Detzel, and I am the Global Community Manager at Imperva. Today we have a great webinar starring Doron, Tzur. It's on Cloud WAF reports and a tool that simplifies the usage of the reputation intelligence service. So Doron's got a really good, it's all demo, so he's going to show you a few things on our GitHub tools to really help you get the most out of your Cloud WAF product. So I'm super excited about that. We do have some upcoming webinars. These are the ones that are scheduled. Next week, we have one with our CTO, Kanal, around community or around real world Cloud WAF rules. I think he mentioned he has 5 that he wants to dive into. And then we have another one on August 5th, Introduction to API Security. And lastly, we do have one around attack analytics that is being shaped up right now that looks like it's going to be at the end of July. I just haven't had the chance to post it yet. And there could be a couple of more in August. So I'm really trying to make sure that you're getting the most out of our products through some of these webinars and demos. The last thing I'll say is this. We are always looking for people like yourself, like customers, partners, and to help participate. So if you want to be part of doing a webinar, I can certainly get on the phone with you, and you can do one of these as well if you have some insights, some best practices, and things like that. Just get in touch with me directly. And I'm going to hand this over to Doron. Doron, thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. Let me share my screen. So hi, everybody. Thank you, Chris, for the introduction. Thank you for joining this webinar. My name is Doron Tzur. That's the proper way to say it in Hebrew, but I don't expect that from Chris. That's fine. I'm a customer success manager based in Tel Aviv. And today I'm going to talk to you about 3 cool tools that we have in our Imperva GitHub. Before I talk about the tools, I just want to give you a couple of insights about the Imperva GitHub. This is a public repository that holds free tools. These free tools are about our products, cloud products, cloud services related products, which we will talk about 3 of them. There are also some on-prem products that can be used, and there is also a couple who are generic. So this is a really nice place to find really cool things. A few very important things about the GitHub tool. The GitHub tools are not formally supported by Imperva. This implies that if there is a bug or a problem, we will not necessarily fix it. You can always send a bug report in GitHub, and the person who is responsible for that tool might fix it, but they might not. On the flip side, this is a great opportunity for you to take those tools. If you find a bug, you can fix it yourself. You can take the code and actually reverse engineer it and put it into your own things that you need. If you're really nice people and you want to contribute, you can always ask to contribute back, whether it's a fix of a bug or a new feature that you want to add to one of those tools. So I really encourage you to go and look and see what those tools are all about. There's a lot of really nice stuff, and there is a lot of stuff that is going and being added as we speak. The people who have written this code are current and former Imperva employees right now, and I do know that there's at least one contribution from an external customer or user who decided that they want to share their wealth of information with other people in the community. So now that I talked a little bit about the GitHub, I want to start to talk about the new tools, or actually 2 of them are not very new. They have been in the Imperva GitHub for quite a while, but they're being enhanced every once in a while. And then I'm going to talk about a tool that is newer. Before we talk about the tools, I want to share with you a common problem that you might have met as working on Cloud WAF. Again, the two tools that I'm going to talk about relate to our Cloud WAF service. And one tool that I'm going to talk about is related to the reputation intelligence service. So this is a dummy account that I have. I'm going to use that as part of my examples, but then I'm going to show you some sort of real world examples, which I tweaked so it won't really show which customers are at. But you're looking right now at the console. You can see that I have 2 sub accounts. I have also in my root directory, if you can call it that, I have another 2 web services, websites that I'm protecting. And I really want to know what's going on with them. In the current way that we're working with our cloud WAF, what we need to do, for example, if we want to see the site protection settings, is to go into our different sites and look at them one by one. It's, you go into WAF and you can see your settings, and this is for hop.tk. And then let's say you want to go and understand what is going on in sub account number 1 with another site. And it can be quite annoying and quite time consuming, and it is very hard to understand what is going on, both for settings and also some of the monitoring stuff, such as which traffic do we have right now, what is the traffic utilization, etc., etc. Now, again, this is a dummy site, so it doesn't really have a lot of information on it, but this is a good idea, and this is a good way and an example to show. In order to, the tools that I'm going to talk about with regards to the Cloud WAF are the Site Protection Viewer and the Account Level Dashboard. These are 2 reporting tools that can be used for different purposes, and I will walk you shortly through what they have and how you use them, and then on when is the best time to use this tool or that tool. At the end of the day, it is your choice how you're going to use these tools, if at all, but this will provide you at least with the functionality that we have. So, as I said, if I'm going back to the console, it's really very time consuming and annoying to go one by one. So we have written 2 tools for that. These tools and also the third tool require to use the APIs. And I'm going to show you just really quick how to add an API user to your system. So I'm going to go to the parent account right now, and to the management and users. And then I'm gonna go to edit mode so I can do something. I pressed it, I'm taking this as an example, and I can add an API key. So let's call it webinar key. Bear in mind that you can have only 5 keys per person, per user, but it's not really a big problem because you can always disable the API key. So let's call it webinar, and let's save it. And then you get the API ID and the API key, which are essential for you to authenticate your requests coming into our cloud services. And another very important thing is don't forget to enable your key, because if you don't enable your key, you will not be able to call the APIs. You will get your keys disabled. So once we have our API keys ready, we will go, and I will not go right now through the exact process of installation of the product. At the end of the webinar, if you have time, I will be glad to do it. The important thing is in all these tools, you can see a very clear, let's call it cookbook on how to use these. I'll just go directly to using this tool. And again, I will start with the Site Protection Viewer. So I installed the system. I took the information from the GitHub, and now I have it in my directory. I will go into a command prompt. This is where I want to go, yeah. And very simply, after I take and put the settings the API key and the API ID and your account ID. And again, I will go on it a little bit later on. It's very simple. It's just a real simple command line, node SPV. And I press enter. We wait a few minutes and there is a progress, what is going on. So we will wait a few minutes because it's also checking your origin servers. And you have a bunch of files that were saved. And if we look here, we can actually see these files. I will show you this HTML file. This is the first one. Now, as a CSM, I really like this tool because I use it to show my customers what is happening with our system. And if you remember, I had the root with 2 websites. I had one sub account with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 websites, and another sub account with 1 website, believe me. And here I can actually see what is my protection posture. Very quick, very simple. One more interesting thing to see is that I also gather information from the attack analytics. This is if you have license for attack analytics, and it's real cool. And you can see the number of incidents that have been collected. You can set how many days back you want to do it. But this isn't really a very interesting thing to see. I want to show you an example which has much more meat in it. So here you see something that I cut and paste from several customers. Again, I want to punctuate the data so they won't be compromised. But here you can see much more information. And when you look at here, you say, okay, in the root, I have 1 blocked incident in critical, but in account number 1, I have 96 not blocked out of 236 critical. And if you press here, you can actually reach the attack analytics console and see it directly. And over here, you can actually see the posture of what is going on. You can see that I have 13 out of 19 sites fully configured, which implies that they have traffic. Out of them, only 1 is fully protected, and we're saying fully protected when everything is green here. And we have 4 out of 19 that have their origin server protected. And by meaning of origin server protected, it means that if you have an origin server and you put it behind the cloud WAF, you are supposed to block all incoming requests from any network other than the Imperva cloud network. Because if you do not, you can be compromised. You can take an analogy of a bodyguard that you put next to your door, not to let any bad guy come in, but leave a small window open in the side of your house so they can just sneak in and make havoc, and you won't even be aware of it until it is too late. So it's super important to make sure that you protect your origin servers by only allowing the Imperva cloud WAF traffic coming from that network to go in. So this is about the site protection viewer. There is a lot of, you know what, just before that, sorry. There are a lot of settings that you can set in the cloud, in this product. You can decide whether you want to check the origin servers, yes, no, because it takes a little bit more time. You want to check if you want to show the sub-account info. If you have attack analytics, you will set it to true, and if you don't, it won't break or anything, but it might show you a message saying, well, you don't have attack analytics, so you can set it as false. And all sorts of file names, whether the file you want to save it with a timestamp or not. One more important thing that I forgot to tell you about with regards to the outputs of this tool is the fact that you also get CSV files. And in the CSV files, you will see the origin servers. It's the same traffic, the same information that we have seen before, the account name, the site, and also the account ID, site ID, and whether it is protected or not, and the reason. You can see the information coming about the protection of your website. Why is this important, and when do you want to use it? If you want to run this tool periodically and take the output and put it into another reporting system that talks in CSV. So this is why you have this. You can also, again, decide that you want it or you don't want it. And there are several more settings that you can just go to the README file and look at them. But by default, this is what you get. You get these files and you get this type of HTML file that you can use. I know that there are customers who are taking and using this tool, and they either present this to their application owners. Again, it's a very strong wording of look at what is going on in your system. I know of several customers who have reverse engineered some of this because you can see which kind of APIs we are using, I'm using in order to get this information. So this is one tool that I would suggest that you look at. It's very easy and simple to use. Before I go to the second tool, Chris, any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. So one, how does the tool know the origin server is protected? For example, FW only allows the encapsula range.
That's a good question. What the tool does, it calls and does an HTTP and HTTPS request to each of the origin servers that are in the list. I mean, it gets all the information. And depending on the response, it makes a decision whether it is protected or not. And this is a good question, so I will show you. I apologize, but this is a little bit more technical. These are return values from Node.js. I'm using Node.js as the technology. And these are the decisions that I made that if this or this or this or this is returned, or if there's a timeout, it implies that the origin server is not reached. Now, if you run this and you find out something that looks strange, and I will show you, it's really interesting because I just found it out yesterday, that one of my websites returned this reason, which I'm not aware of and I don't know what it is, and it does look like timeout. So I searched through Google and found out that this is a valid reason for saying that the origin server is protected. So if this thing happens, and I'm not going to do it right now, I'm going to add it to this list. Wait, I'm going to add it to this list. And the next time I will run it, it will show us that it is protected. Okay, is that a clear answer?
Yeah, I think so. And if not, Jason can speak up. The
other, one comment, please. If you do find out these kinds of error codes that you think that are meaning that we are still protected, it would be great if you can send it in the GitHub so I will know to fix it. Thank you. Yeah, Chris, go ahead.
There is a question on that part. Is there a check from a non-encapsula range?
Well, when you run this request, these requests are running from my personal computer where I run this tool. So of course you're not in the encapsula network range, which implies that if you manage to get to those origin servers, you manage to get into those origin servers.
Okay. So the next question, for fully configured, is there a way yet to ensure that name records are reflected as fully configured?
The fully configured in the MI and the fully configured in the API are a little bit difficult. I must confess that I don't remember the exact logic I used when I decided on a not fully configured, but for sure, if it is not configured, it will reflect here as no, or not fully configured, it will be reflected here as no. But I'm sorry, I don't recall the exact logic I used with the API. By the way, one more thing, sorry to interrupt. All of these use standard APIs that you can find in our documentation. There is nothing and no tricks and tips that are done internally. And you can, read and understand much more about the APIs if you also look at the examples.
And that's maybe something from a follow-up standpoint we can add into the video.
Yeah.
Last question, or maybe not. But the last question I see is, will the Cloud WAF logs record this?
With the Cloud WAF what?
Logs record this?
No.
Okay.
Not in a straight way. I mean, I don't remember. I think that if you look at the audit trail, you will see if you have configured or not configured your website, but it's not like, okay, what's my current snapshot status? You will have to dig into the logs and see and find out what is going on.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions for now.
Thank you. So we've talked about the site protection viewer, and now I'm going to talk about another real cool dashboard. This was implemented by Jonathan Groover, who was working at Imperva. And what this is again, you will download, you will run. It is also running on Node.js. And this is a more graphic tool. And when you run it, you will, again, take the, Okay, I need to, that's fine. What you need to do is you need to take the information from, and I will take that information. These are the keys that I've just produced from the users, my account ID, my API ID, and my API key. And once you press submit, I didn't run it probably. Yeah, that was my bad. I need to run this. This tool is actually creating a web server on your computer. That's why you need to launch the web browser. I just forgot to run it. I'm going to run it right just now. And now you see that it's listening on port 3000. And therefore, you can see that I've done localhost port 3000, and I'm going to run it. And the information that you can see here is much more graphic. You can, and it's not only the site protection information about the settings, and it's all about traffic utilization. I will go slowly through here, and then I will open, again, this is a very simple and not very interesting dashboard because this is a dummy account, but I'll show you a nicer thing. You can see the name of the account, you can see the licenses, you can see an executive summary and assessment, how many sites were configured, 95 percentile, how many sites were configured, blocking mode, was there a DDoS threshold was changed or not, which if you do not change the threshold, it might imply that the default is not fitting what you really need. How many security events, human versus bot visitors, and I will, I will show you what I cut and paste. It's more interesting. So again, here you can see, for example, a 95 percentile, how traffic runs and goes over time. You can see which threats have been going on. I didn't show you, but you can select the number of days, last 7 days, last 30 days, last 90 days. So it's statistics, it's really cool. This is stuff that you can see and visualize in your eyes, use it for executive reports. Human versus visitor bots, etc. Total traffic over time, caching. And with regards to threats, you can see the map from the where people came from, or where actually it's not necessarily people, where different clients came and logged into your websites. This is an account level dashboard. Again, it's not a per site. That's what is really nice about it. Visitors for country, serving pops, etc. Another nice thing that we have here, and I'm going to go up, is we have detailed tables. And in these detailed tables, this is basically what you have seen, which is the security settings, is what you have seen. Wait, where is it? Here. These are these settings. I'll put it here. Here it is less colorful. but still the information is in place. And you have more information that you can see. Again, this is all being taken from using the APIs. Caching and DNS. Here's the question about the pending DNS changes someone asked. So here you can see the actual settings. You can see the access control list, whitelist rules, which countries have been not permitted to enter, the etc., etc. Attack statistics. Well, again, my site doesn't have any attacks right now. It's a dummy. In-cap rules, if were added, yeah, I did add a couple, and you see everything in your eyes. Delivery rules, everything is in the same place. You can also generate a PDF on this kind of information. For example, you can generate a PDF on the account level dashboard. I'm not going to do it. It's just going to be a waste of time right now. So this is a more graphic tool. It can be used when I use and do my reviews with my customers. I use both of the tools. I will cut the interesting information from this tool and put it in my presentation. I will also take the information from here with regards to the origin servers. I might want to show this specific table because it is much more visual. So I will take this one, I might take this one, and I will also take all these neat graphs and graphical elements and put them in my report. So this is about the second tool, the account level dashboard. Chris, are there any questions?
There's no additional questions, but there is a comment, so
Okay.
I'll read that out. It says, this account level dashboard tool has been very useful for our team with an extremely large number of sites.
Okay,
So
excellent.
that's good to know. So I think you're hitting on something really valuable here. Again, it's for folks here on the call, but also folks that are part of the community will be able to see this through video. So this is good stuff. So thank you.
Absolutely. I know that internal people in Imperva employees that are customer facing also use these tools internally because again they provide a lot of insights and it is very easy to take a look. One thing I would like to mention, like I said, these are free tools and they're not fully supported. There is a fully supported report which is part of the managed services. That's a paid service. So if you're interested to have a fully supported reporting capabilities, just talk with your relevant salespeople. So we've talked about these two reporting tools, and before I'm going to go to the next tool, I just want to show you, if you're not familiar with our reputation intelligence tool. It's important for our next tool. So the reputation intelligence is a service. Wait, let it come up. Where you can take a specific IP addresses. There were recently investigated IPs, so I'll just take this for the sake because it's more convenient. You can take an IP address, put it in here, and then our service shows you what we have learned about this IP over the last 14 days. You can see, for example, that we have put it at a risk of 65, and the reason that we've seen it is because we know this. Again, bear in mind that Imperva is seeing a lot of traffic and a lot of patterns and understands and mitigates. So when we find this kind of IP address, we can look and see what was the history within their system. So we see that this one was set as 65. It has ATO activity. That was what it was being used for. If you go down, you can see over time what has happened and what was seen. You see automatic attacks, etc. You can see here some nice graphs and statistics about what happened with this and what was this IP address used for. Let's take another example just for the sake of argument. So we'll see one more interesting thing. Let's take this one for example. Picking. So this one, wow, the risk is 95. It is known for SQL injections. It is coming from the Russian Federation and it's going all over the place. These are the violations over time. And you can
that one's really red, Doron. Sorry.
This one, absolutely. Yeah.
It's bad.
Absolutely red.
Okay.
So you see all this information that can help you. This information is also if you have attack analytics and you look into your different incidents and you get an IP address, if you select that IP address, you will also go into the reputation intelligence and see what is going on. So this is a really cool and very strong tool when you do your analysis. And when I'm looking at my customers, what I like to do is look into their detailed tables and go into the go into the access control list and look at the IP addresses that are in the whitelist. Because the whitelist is something very, very dangerous. If you put the wrong IP in the list or if something changes on that IP, basically what it means when you put it in a whitelist is that our cloud WAF does not inspect it at all, which means a lot of bad stuff can happen. And sometimes when you put an IP address over time, the risk changes with regards to that. So what I usually do is that I look in, either I take it from this tool, I can take it directly from the console, and I just copy paste the IP. Sorry. And put it in the reputation tool. But the current way that our reputation tool is working is that it cannot show, and it doesn't give you an interface for more than one IP address. Which for me, it's nice to have it per one, and it's really good that our attack analytics and also, if I recall, our on-prem will also go directly. But when I want to look at a bulk of IP addresses, this doesn't really work for me. So we have another tool that is called the multi-IP reputation retriever. Again, it is installed and run in the same manner. And also, find this. And it is also local web service when you run it. And you see that it listens to port 4000. And what we do here is now we go to localhost 4000. And I copy pasted the list. Now I put it here and I press check IP. And it provides you with a list of the IP addresses with the most important information. What is the risk? What is the risk description? What is the ASN, org name, country, known to use, etc., etc. And if you want to see more details, let's go for this red one. This is really interesting. You press on the link, and it will take you directly to the, wait for it, directly to the reputation intelligence page, and it will provide you with all this information. So this is a tool that is helpful for bulk. If you want to look at bulk IP addresses, you don't necessarily have to take it from here. You can take it from wherever when you search and you want to understand what is going on with your IPs. One thing that we do want to be aware of is that if I do this several times, and I'm going to do it just now, it will request each time. And I'll do it just once more. You will get, after a while, this error. it says exceeds number of requests, please try again. This service does not allow you to have more than n requests for a certain period of time without telling you, okay, stop for a minute and relax, because this is how the tool actually, let's say, does housekeeping. Because if too many will do it all the time, it might break. So in this case, we can wait a while. Chris, if there are any questions, and then I will press the check IP again, and we will see that everything is working.
Yeah, we do have one. I'm not sure if you'll be able to answer it, but one way or another, we'll get an answer. So Satish asked, do the threat intelligence data in Imperva Cloud are from the threat radar tool, which is used by SecureSphere?
It's a different type of information. But Threat Radar does use some of that information. It uses some more information. It is not the same service, though.
Okay, so it's a different service.
Yes.
And then just one comment is that the tool looks really great.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Let's see if we waited enough time. Yeah, we have. So it's not very long. You don't have to wait for a very long time. And for me, it is much more refreshing than doing one IP after the other.
So I do have a quick question for you. Out of curiosity, you put 1, 2, 3, 4 IPs in there. Is there a certain number of IPs that maybe you already said this, but
no. Well, I limited the tool for 10 IP addresses.
Oh, okay,
this is
10.
something that 10. Can be, but this is something that can be tweaked in the settings file. I just put it as 10 because I know that if you do 10 and 10 more, you're almost sure to hit that problem of the exceeding, and I'd rather not. One important thing is if you do the same IP several times, it will still only do one request. This is a smarter behavior that I did in order to avoid. The less I get those exceeds, the more I'm happy. So I took that into account. Now, Chris, do we have a little bit of time for me just to walk through how to do an installation of one of those tools, or are we?
Yeah, you have some time. We have 20 minutes, so.
Okay, so again, this is something that can be done quite easily, but I'm going to show it anyways. So I'll take the site protection viewer as an example. This is the GitHub, and what we do is the first thing that we do before we do this actually, in the README file, you can see what is going on. You need to install Node.js on the system that you're working on. So there's a link to Node.js. You need to follow the instructions like they are what is written in the Node.js. It's a free package. It's not something that costs money. And after you install it, what you do is that you go and download the code. And you can see here that I have a zip file. And I'm going to show it in the folder. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to create here a new folder just for the interest of I'll double click and unzip this file into this test. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, I'm going to do it from here. I'm going to stop this account level dashboard right now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the directory that I unzipped, and I'm going to do something very simple. I'm going to write npm install, and then I wait. What happens for the more technical people, if you want to understand, is that Node.js detects what dependencies this tool needs and just downloads them all. Then what I do, and again, I'm going to open this. I'm going to set the relevant account ID, API ID, and API key. Remember, we took the API ID and API key when we created them. Yeah, let's put them right here. And then the only thing left for me to do, unless I want to tweak, of course, the settings, is to write node SP. And that's it. That's really simple. And again, this kind of behavior, this installation is the same for the account level dashboard, because it's also Node.js, and the IP retriever, which is also Node.js. The only difference is in how you run it. Here you write node SPV, and the other you write node app.js. That's the only difference. A note to be that you should be aware of, and again, it is written here, is that if you use Node.js, which is a version greater or equal than 12, instead of just writing node SPV, you have to write node and this really long line, and only then SPV. That's because some sort of problem that we have with a node with version greater than or equal than 12. But if you do this, that'll work, and that'll work perfectly. But again, if it's under 12, you must use this, which if you see what I did, this means that my node version is less than 12. I think it's actually 8. So I want again to recap that I showed you 3 tools in our GitHub repository, in the Imperva GitHub repository. They're very useful. They're very easy to use, almost out of the box. Just install them. You put a couple of settings, you run them, and everything is working. I know that it is very helpful for Imperva employees. I know that customers are using it, and I hope that you will enjoy these tools as well and use them in the right manner for your organization. So thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions, Chris, I think that you can provide all the relevant information on how to do that.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much, everybody, and pleasure. Thank you, Chris.